How do you nail down a niche when you feel like it has all been done before? And how do you overcome that fear that there aren't enough people out there in the niche you want to work in for you to build a profitable business? Well, both are totally possible. I'm living proof. And today I want to talk to you about how to marry your passions with your future profits. Welcome to episode 91 here on the Ashlyn Writes channel, and as you may know, I help creatives like you make more money with your words so you can work from a place of more rest and less hustle. And as I was looking at the work from some of my alum members inside my Copywriting for Creatives program and their recently launched websites, it hit me. Some of them are killer case studies when it comes to a very, very narrow niche. Niching, however you want to say it, is something that I'm passionate about too, because whenever people ask me how I grew my business, this topic always comes up. Because how niche is too niche? Or what do you do when you feel like you have the best idea and you look out there and somebody's already doing it? You may feel like it's too competitive, it's too late, or it's going to be an uphill battle trying to carve out and hone a niche that separates you from the pack. Well, I teach copywriting and brand strategy to creatives, and time and again, I see people go out there and kill it in something that I didn't even know was a thing. So I know what I'm talking about, and I also know because I learned this the hard way. I went into niching, kicking and screaming, but have now built a business that's brought in more than 7 figures in a niche that I didn't even think was going to be profitable. The first time I was listening to a business podcast and I heard about niching and narrowing, I thought it was a terrible idea. Am I the only one? Comment below, me too, if you ever felt like that when you were starting your business. But what I found is once I started going narrow, the more profitable my business became. Turns out the podcast guy was right. There's no scientific way to choosing a niche, so what I want to talk to you about today is the process that I went through when I was figuring mine out. It's not difficult per se, but it's a little bit intimidating, this niching business. As a follower named Jamie said when I talked about this on Instagram, it feels like such a commitment. And if you're like me, when people are offering to pay you to be a jack of all trades, why would you niche? Well, I've got some thoughts on that. So today I'm going to share with you 4 steps to go through to narrow down your niche as a creative small business owner, even if you're passionate about more than one thing. Hit that like button below if you're ready to rock your niche too. And go ahead, look down below and become a subscriber. Join the fun. That is also how you're going to be first to know when these videos drop every single Tuesday. Okay, let's go. The first thing is looking at your interests. Now, for many of us creative types, we have to link fulfillment to what we do. There's a quote attributed, possibly misattributed, to Aristotle. He says, "Where the needs of the world and your talents cross, there lies your vocation." That's similar to something a productivity expert named Bob Posen once said. You need to not only know what you're best at, but what skills your organization, your industry, and the world are looking for. Because it is noisy and competitive out there. When people land on your website, they need to quickly know if you're for them, if you're to be trusted to get the job done, and how to take action. Or they need to know politely you are not a fit for them and to move on along. So what I would recommend you do after you watch this video, or right now, you could hit pause, is whip out a pen and paper. I want you to write down all your hobbies and all your interests. What are your biggest passions and interests? What would your dream job be? What did you want to do when you were little? I journaled endlessly through a goal setting tool called Power Sheets when I was first trying to figure this out. What are you interested in learning more about, or what could be fun? And here's an important one. What experience do you have either growing up or in previous jobs that could be important or of use? We're at a place in the information age and the online business world where you could very quite likely figure out how to make money with something you're passionate about, which is a pretty cool place to be. Here's another exercise that may be helpful for you. Right before I left corporate marketing, after I got out of eating disorder recovery and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I sent out an email to all of my very best friends asking them to affirm talents or gifts they saw in me. Maybe that sounds cheesy, but this was immensely helpful in seeing where my fit may be. I think specifically I asked them to tell me where they saw God's fingerprints on my life, just little bits of things that they knew were so Ashlyn, and maybe little hints of what my calling may be. Another thing to journal through, what is it that your friends and your family ask you to help with all the time? Friends were constantly asking me to review a resume or help them with an email to their boss, give them pointers for social media or public relations. Comment and tell me below, what is it that people always ask you about? I really want to know. I think so many times people see what I'm doing now and think it changes happened. My experience as a calligrapher helped me understand the creative market, and I just knew that I wanted to start a copywriting business. But that is not the case. I had to go through this process too. I was writing everything from blog content for corporations to editing resumes, writing magazine pieces, and doing chalkboards for weddings. I hate chalkboards. I was just trying to figure out what the Ashlyn-sized gap in the market was. But I kept coming back to the writing and the marketing thing because that's something that people ask me about all the time. Now, you're probably going to get a lot of ideas in this part, which brings me to step 2. Look up the profit potential and validate the idea. To me, this is how you choose when you're passionate about more than one thing like I was. Because how do you know if there's even demand for this? Well, I always tell my students to go out there and figure out what the U-sized gap in the market is, because I don't care how passionate you are about art or hand-dyed silk ribbon or pet photography. If no one's gonna pay for this thing that you're offering, then you're DOA, like the Friends song says. The good news, most of this research can be done online. Now, it's never possible to know for 100% sure if people are going to pay for this, but this gives you at least a good start. No, the good ideas are not all already taken. We just need to dig. So look up that keyword of the thing that you're kind of interested in doing and see what the competition out there is like. If you Google what you're interested in or where you want to serve and you see there's a lot of ads or a lot of competition, then that may be a signal to you that you need to narrow down a little bit more. Google Trends can be a good way to look at this. Let me show you what I mean. In Google Trends, and you do have to keep this pretty broad, but I want to show you what I mean. So let's look up a couple of things. So let's search this, and you can compare up to 5 at a time. So this is a graph that shows the past 12 months, the search volume for it. I would probably want to niche down a little bit more, but you can, again, this is a comparison way. So say I have a lot of different ideas. Let's just say I'm going to do some things that my audience services. Oh, that's interesting. I feel like brand photography is getting more and more popular. Let's see. I may be too specific. Yep, see, that is either too specific, because we definitely know there's searches. That's why I recommend the Keywords Everywhere plugin. You can see specific searches. Let's see, let's add one more. Let's add, just see where that falls on it. Okay, so we have that's just so interesting. One thing that I want to recommend is after this, I would go into Google and do some more specific keyword research. Let me show you that. A little more keyword research inside the Google machine. What I'm going to do is stay in my realm, but let's look into a different niche inside of my niche. So I know I talk about horizontal and vertical niching in here. Let's look up architects. Let's see what comes up for this. So, I know Nikita. And that is a great line. So what I want you to look at here is there's a plugin. This is a Chrome plugin called Keywords Everywhere that you can instantly install on your computer, and it'll tell you the search volume a month as well as the competition. So what's interesting here is there's not high enough volume of search volume a month for this to populate and show up, but clearly these people, clearly this is something where it is a need and it is a service that's being provided. So that's pretty cool to look at. Writing realm a little bit more, but look up something else. So what I want to look up is Amazon copywriting. I just found somebody who does this, and I was like, what? That is a thing? And look. Well, first of all, look at the search volumes a month. 260 searches every single month of people looking for this, and there seems to be a lot of content on it. So if I were interested in this, I would probably go out there and see, wow, there's product copywriters. Yeah, you just want to get into this a little bit more, see who's out there, see who's doing it. It seems to be pretty profitable niche of copywriting. So that's the kind of thing that I want to show you about how niche you can get. Another tool you can do is look on Amazon. Are there books or magazines about this niche or interest? That can be a good indicator too. Niching always reminds me of magazines. I think it's because I was in journalism school in 2009. That was the year of the economic downturn. I remember I was interning at Time Inc. Southern Living magazine and a magazine called Southern Accents folded on the floor above us, and many other magazines started to fold, but then something interesting happened. There started to be a new crop up of weirdly hyper-specific magazines. I know you've probably seen them too. Hard copy publications can be a great indicator of what could be profitable. Now, what if you see that there's not a specific reflection of someone working in the niche that you're interested in? That was my story. I was moonlighting as a wedding calligrapher, trying to find my fit in the market, and I saw within Facebook groups, specifically the Rising Tide Society Facebook group, that there were a lot of questions that I could answer. I was reading inside these Facebook groups and forums. I was also going to meetups and listening to the conversations that they were having. The questions that at least I could answer had to do with sales, messaging, and copywriting, but no one was specifically saying copywriting. No one. I would literally ask in Facebook groups, does anybody have a question about copywriting or messaging or their copy that I can help with? And it would either be complete silence, crickets, or someone would comment back something like, I already have a lawyer, thanks. Wrong copywriting. So I don't think you need to 100% stay away from a niche if it looks like there's no proven track record of someone already being successful there. Because sometimes people are saying and asking for what it is that you can do or you can help them with, but they're not using the words that you would use to describe it quite yet. I ran across a business quote that said the reality is in 99.99% of cases, if no one's doing it, it's because there isn't money to be made. There's a grain of truth in that. But I did find success in a niche that no one else was loudly servicing when I started my business. It was hard. I had to do a lot of education and value proposition building, but it's possible. One thing I would not do, don't ask people straight up what they would be willing to pay. Because in my experience, if people don't understand the value of it, then they don't understand how to price it either. I think one time I asked a photographer how much she would pay for an about page and she said $25. You've got to build an argument and it can be done. The third step is to test the waters. You gotta put stuff out there and see if it flies. Especially if your current audience isn't the one you wanna serve, this is important. If it's a service, you can do some beta testing of it. I have a personal rule that I either do pro bono work that's completely free or I charge. I don't discount my work or services and I never have. Someone recently asked me on Instagram how you get work in a niche that you don't already have the portfolio or the client work to show for. And people are on both sides of the aisle when it comes to this argument, but what I did is go ahead and test my service and charge for it. I do believe you still charge. I think it undercuts the market when people come in and steeply discount because some people are doing what they're doing to put food on the table. Just my opinion. Another idea for testing is free content. That's how I tested my ideas. I pitched free content constantly. I blogged constantly. I wrote guest posts all the time. I pinned incessantly. Eventually, my content started convincing people that they needed what I offered. The content and stuff I put out there that got the most traction is what I built offers around. There's one last important fit to this, and it's this. And it's number 4, define why you're different than anyone else that's already out there doing this, or any other way people are already solving this problem. Because if you're not doing it differently, why would anyone pay attention? You have to find your unique angle, your onlyness factor, as I call it. You have to find that within your niche that either no one is doing or no one is doing well. When someone recently asked me how niche is too niche, this is my answer for that. I tell my students inside Copywriting for Creatives that you need to be able to state your differentiating factor and with 99% certainty say that you are the only one that can fulfill that statement. I know it's bold, I know it feels scary, but I firmly believe it, and I've seen it be successful time and time again. It's why we spend so much time with my students trying to figure and workshop that out. Again, to use my business as an example, we focus on very few select specific things. I was playing around with so many marketing facets, but decided my favorite part of agency life had always been brand messaging and drafting website and email copy. We just do things like that now. I don't write a lot of things like social media captions and copy, content marketing, scripts, nope. After you've picked a horizontal niche, then you want to choose a vertical niche. Serve a specific audience and their set of needs. This is where I've seen a lot of creatives resist. Now, you don't have to do this to be successful. This is just what I tell people when they ask me how I grew my business pretty quickly. Become the go-to girl or guy for a specific group of people. I talk more about horizontal and vertical niching in my video about starting a writing business. I'll link it down below if you want to watch that. Can you take on work that's outside your niche? Absolutely. I also like to help non-niche brands with my pro bono hours. I just think it all comes down to being very careful about what you put in your portfolio. I promise it's possible to scale within a tight niche. Go read that article you've probably heard of or read before, 1,000 True Fans. I'll link it down below. If you can find 1,000 people who are interested in what you do, you can probably build a business around it. There are 3.2 billion people on the internet. Bet you can find 1,000 that are interested. Then bring it. Put a stake in the ground and declare what you do. I know this is scary. Like I mentioned before, it was for me too, and I went in kicking and screaming. Figure out your message and your onlyness factor, and if you need help with that, then I want to invite you to my free workshop. I'm teaching a masterclass called Separate Yourself from the Pack, How to Write Your Website Words, and thousands of creative entrepreneurs have jumped in and attended. I would love to see you there so I could help you out with this too. Check the link below or head to ashlynwrites.com/masterclass to jump in. Hit that like video if you found this helpful and enjoy these videos up next. See you in the workshop.